How to install new pump motor? Let me show you. First, make sure your power is off. Turn off the breakers. Disconnect bond wire. You're going to need a 1/4-inch nut driver, or you can also use a flathead screwdriver to disconnect the bond wire from the back of your pump. Now let's remove the motor cover to get to the wires. Disconnect the wires from the back of the pump. Here comes the ground. Wires are off. Loosen up the conduit. It's sometimes hard to pull the wires easily, and actually we might have to loosen up this clamp right there. Occasionally, see, like right here, I already have those connectors installed, which is great. It will be helpful for the new motor to go in, but it's hard to pull those wires with the connectors when you have to go through this narrow conduit. So I'm going to try pull wire after wire, all separately, so I do not pull 3 at the same time. You see that? That was much easier. All right, the wires are out. We're going to remove this and use it on our new motor. Right there, don't lose that. All right, so this pump is Jandy Flow Pro. We have to remove those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts. 9/16 is the size. You can use a wrench or you can use a socket, whatever you like. I actually have both, and I may use both. All right, bolt number 1, beautiful, clean. This one ready to go as well. The ones at the bottom are always a little bit harder to get to. 6 bolts are removed. Here it is. So now we have to remove all those plastic parts away from the motor itself so we can install a new motor here. Let's remove diffuser first. We have 2 Phillips bolts holding diffuser. Easy. All right, diffuser is out. Next thing, we gotta remove impeller. To remove the impeller, look, if you try to just remove it, the impeller spins and the shaft spins here. Some of you will have a cover over here, or some of you will have a different type of a motor with the cover in the back of the motor. You gotta remove the cover, and then I don't care how you do it, but you gotta get to the shaft. This one uses 1/2-inch wrench. You got to hold onto the shaft with the wrench. In our case, it's a 1/2-inch. Once I'm holding the shaft in the back, then I can put my hand on the impeller and try to unscrew it. Now, sometimes all it takes is your hand to loosen up the impeller, but sometimes you may need to use a wrench, and I'll show you in a minute. Yep, no luck. I'm not strong enough. Pipe wrench. We're trying to gently use a pipe wrench to remove the impeller. Boom, right there. That's all it took. So I'm still holding onto the shaft. And here it is. What I like to do is inspect the impeller, make sure it's not, well, actually there is a bolt right there. So we're gonna remove this bolt. Make sure your impeller, it's not separating, it's not missing any chunks, it's not damaged. And if it is, you gotta replace it. Pretty much all impellers have a number right there. So you gotta go online and type this up to find new proper impeller for your pump. And again, any trash there is, any rocks, remove them. This one right here has a bolt stuck in there. That bolt actually belongs right in the inside of the impeller. It's holding onto the impeller and bolts it down onto the shaft. So I have to remove this bolt. So here it is. That's the bolt that we are missing. And that bolt belongs there. All right, that's where it normally belongs. So now we have it. And when I'm ready to put impeller onto the new motor, I will install this bolt right in the shaft. And here is our old mechanical seal. Here it is. We obviously going to install a brand new one for the new motor. Now we need to separate the motor from this plastic part, and we do need 9/16 to loosen that up. All right, that's relatively easy. You can use sockets, you can use wrenches, whatever you like. Just so you know, this bolt was short, and the bolts that we removed initially are much longer. So don't get those two mixed up. Okay, bottom bolts are usually the hardest. So if you have to wrestle with one of yours, I will not be shocked. This project has been easy so far. Now we can try to separate the plastic part from the motor. And here it is. Old motor. And here we're going to clean this, and we are going to install new mechanical seal in here. So let's do it. So the old mechanical seal is still stuck inside of your pump. So let's remove it. Just put it down. Flathead screwdriver. Boom. We need to remove also old gaskets and O-rings. We have new O-rings. So remove that, that's trash. Whenever you replace a motor with the new one, you must buy a kit. This one is for Jandy. If you have a Hayward or a Pentair pump, you gotta buy specific to your pump a kit that will come with mechanical seal and all the O-rings necessary. So next thing we're going to do is to install this mechanical seal right there. So now it's time to install our new mechanical seal. As you see, I'm not trying to touch the white part, and I'll use clean paper towel to push this in. Try to push it in evenly. Let's see. It went in beautifully. I want to just push it in just a tiny bit more. All right, all the way in, as far as I can tell. And just to be on the safe side, if you think you maybe touched the white shiny part and it's possibly dirty, greasy, what I do is I take clean paper towel, put some alcohol in it, and with that alcohol I clean the surface of our mechanical seal to make sure that there's no dirt, no grease. See that? Now I know for a fact that this mechanical seal is nice and clean. Remove the cover from the back of the motor. You will need a 1/4 inch nut driver. So here's the back of our new motor. The ground wire, green wire, will go right there. 2 hot wires will go right here. And this pump from factory, it's wired for 220 only. So if you try to run this one in 120, you couldn't do it. This one is actually, sorry, 230 right there. This is already pre-wired, so I don't have to change anything. This motor is ready for us for 230 volts. So before you install a new motor, this is what I do. I go to look at the old motor and see how was it wired. So this one has white wire at B and brown wire at A. Right there, see? White at B and brown A, and the A is marked right there. Then I go to the sticker on the side of the pump. And each pump should have a sticker, and it shows you if the pump is wired for low voltage, where the wires are supposed to be, and if your pump is wired for high voltage, which our is, this is 220 volts. Now I know that the new motor also has to be ready for 220 volts. All right, next step, we have to remove this from the shaft, and it's time to connect the new motor with the pump's parts, and this slides right through. Okay, it went in, and now we need 4 of our bolts, but first we need to clean those bolts. You remember those short bolts? They need to be cleaned. 4 bolts right there, the bottom ones. Go tight, but do not go bananas. This is not a car, okay? This is a pool pump. No need to go crazy. So I like to put the last few turns with the wrench. Actually, have a better access. Here is our next step. We need to attach the impeller onto the pump, but first, the mechanical seal. Just so you know, the shiny black part goes against the shiny white part. The rubber part of the mechanical seal goes against the impeller. All right, so rubber against the impeller, shiny black part against shiny white part, and that's a must. And again, to be on the safe side, I'm going to clean this with the alcohol. I only clean the shiny black part. Okay, nice and clean. I am not touching it. I'm just going to slide over the shaft. All right. And now it's time to install our impeller. As you remember, now the shaft is going to spin. We need 1/2 inch wrench to hold the back of the shaft so you can attach your impeller. All right, yep, this is as hard as I can do. There's no need to use a wrench to make this any tighter because we are going to put the locking bolt right inside of the impeller. So here it is, our locking bolt for the impeller. So you got to put the wrench in the back of the shaft again, possibly to hold it in. And this is a little bit tricky. The bolt goes right inside of the impeller, but the way you screw this in, it's counterclockwise, okay? So to tie this in, it's counterclockwise. It's this way. All right? All right, as tight as I can. So we have our impeller on. Now it's time for the diffuser. And look, this particular diffuser has this little bump right here, which indicates that we should install it right here. You see this bump, and there's an arrow. Got to be lined up. All right, Phillips screwdriver. Nice. We can remove this O-ring right here and install new one. So now we are going to install two brand new O-rings that came in the kit. So one O-ring goes right here. Okay, and the smaller goes right onto the diffuser. What I like to do is lubricate both. This is what I'm using. No, I'm not sponsored by them. Okay. I like to do the wires right now instead of doing the wires at the end when the pump is already all hooked up and all put together. So we are reusing this fitting from the old pump, and that's how it went. And here are our wires. So probably best bet is to run each wire separately. We just got to run those three. This is our bond wire, it's not going. So one by one, you see we already have those electric connectors here. So it's good, but it makes it a little bit tougher to run the wire through the conduit. If not impossible occasionally. So one wire is in. That's not bad. Wire number 2. This can be tricky and annoying occasionally, so just be patient. For those of you that have no electrical connectors, it's going to be easier. We have wire number 2 came out, and our ground wire coming through. Okay, we have all 3 wires. Okay, well, you can attach maybe the hot wires first if you would like. It does not matter. So the area where the wires go, the hot wires, right here, okay? So it doesn't matter if the black one goes here or the black one goes there. It just doesn't matter. Since this is 230 volts, these are both hot wires. Okay. I'm going to just clamp them a little bit more so they stay on. They do not vibrate off. And now your ground wires, your ground wire goes right there. Alright, nice and tight. And now I'm going to move this out of the way so the ground wire is not touching any of the hot wires. Okay, so looks like we have the wires where they belong. I'm gonna make this one just a little bit tighter. Okay, we can reinstall our cover. You can write over here with the marker the date that you install the motor. What happens a lot, customers love to claim that this pump It's 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old, even though it's been here for 10, 15 years. So sometimes you can write over here the date when you install the motor. So if 5 years from now, you get a phone call and somebody said, oh my God, you just installed this motor like last year. Why did it quit working? You take the cover off, you look at the date and you say, here, look, it's 10 years old, not 3 years old. So that's actually what I'm going to do. All right, so here it is. I don't know if you can see. I wrote the date with the marker. So now the customer will know how old the motor truthfully is. Cover. This cover takes 1/4 inch nut driver. All right, the cover is on. I'm going to remove styrofoam, and right here I'm going to finish putting this liquid tight. All right. Right there. Last thing to do from the electrical perspective is our bond wire. We need to attach it. It usually goes to the very bottom of the motor, right there. Actually, I'm going to cut off the old piece and here it is, bond wire. Okay. Once bond wire is on, make sure you clean the pump surface right here. Nice and clean, no dirt. And O-rings are lubricated. Now it's time to put this pump together. All right, so you just got to slide it in. And all we have to do is install those 6 bolts, 9/16, right? So let's do it. Okay, drive them in with your hand at first before you use any tools on it. Our 6 bolts are installed, nice and tight. Last thing, I have to clamp this electric cord to the base. You have to, you don't have to. Since it's been like that, I'm going to redo it. All right, so last thing left, we need to fill up this pump with a bucket full of water and see what happens. All right, so I added an entire bucket full of water. So time to turn the power back on. Breakers. Let's see what happens. Open the bleeder to help the pump prime quicker. Perfect, not a single air bubble. Just the way it's supposed to be. You gotta inspect underneath of the pump to see if it's dripping. Not a single drop of water. That's a success. And congratulations on installing your new pump motor. So we did it. The pump runs perfectly, not a single drip of water. Just so you know, the principle of replacing a motor on this Jandy Flow Pro apply to all pumps in the pool business, in USA at least. Whether you have a Hayward, Pentair, Jandy, I don't care what pump you have, the technique and the principles of replacing a pool motor are identical. So if you know how to replace a motor on Jandy, you pretty much know how to replace a pool pump motor on any of those pool pumps. Thank you for watching. If you learned anything new, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.